In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God is one. Amen. Well, I think it's going to be one of those days today because for some reason this computer and the screen is working very slowly, and the other one is working even more slowly. Last night them updated, and I often found you have a problem afterwards if you do that. Various troubleshooters are not working either, so the effect of the updating and making it more efficient is to make it much more inefficient. There we go. Isn't that just what you expect? Anyway, it's a stunningly beautiful day today at the moment, about 23, 24 degrees outside and warm, a slight breeze. It's slightly clouding over now, but from about 4:30 onwards this morning until about half an hour ago, it was completely blue sky, looking absolutely delicious. So very lucky. There we go. Anyway, people are beginning to turn up. I see that Tony, good morning, and Joan as well. Happy feast and happy fast. Yes, we're back to the tea with oat milk in it. But also tomorrow, I think we celebrate the feast day of St. Alban, who was the proto-martyr of these islands. So, interesting person. It's worthwhile looking up his story. It's quite fascinating. Good morning, Nicoletta. I was about to send you a text to see how you are, so maybe you'd like to send me a text to tell me how you're getting on. Suzanne, good morning. God bless you. Anton, happy Monday, Anton. The furthest point possible from Little Thursday. Little Friday. Okay. Today we're starting a new chapter. Chapter 13. Are we starting chapter 13? No, chapter 12. Chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. I don't know why I've written down 13 here. Must have been out of sheer excitement, the idea of it. So verses 1 to 3. Now, there's some important background here that you need to know to make use of it. Good morning, Beverly. You're having a beautiful day, good. And that is that in chapter 12, St. Luke, he puts together all sorts of things, little catchphrases and sayings of the Lord that are opposite to the problems the apostles and disciples and Luke's community is going to have. So easily remembered catchphrases and sayings. And because they were easy to remember, St. Luke had no trouble remembering them easily, and thus they get into this. So there are lots of different things within here, very straightforward and short parables and so on. Good morning, Ahmed. God bless you. So here we go. In the meantime, when an innumerable multitude of people had gathered together so that they trampled one another, he began to say to his disciples first of all, "Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. For there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, nor hidden that will not be made known. Therefore whatever you have spoken in the dark will be heard in the light, and whatever you have spoken in the ear, in the inner rooms, will be proclaimed on the housetops." Now, good morning, James. Hope you're feeling better. God bless you. Okay, so we've got, you can feel there's some catchphrases there straight away, can't you? So, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is a straightforward one. There is nothing covered that will not be revealed. Another one. Nothing hidden that will not be made known. Another one. Whatever is spoken in the dark will be heard in the light. Another one. Whatever will be spoken in the ear, in the inner room, so whispered in the ear, in the inside most private room, will be proclaimed on the housetops. So there I think there are 5 immediate catchphrases that the Lord has used. Okay. So, in the meantime, in Greek, en is, and it means in these, and in these times. So round about the time that the Pharisees, you'll remember at the end of chapter 11, we'll just read that again. The Pharisees began to assail him vehemently and to cross-examine him about many things, lying in wait for him and seeking to catch him in something he might say, that they might accuse him. Okay, so during that time when the Pharisees are really eager to catch him out over the next however much time, maybe a couple of years, Luke has the whole thing taking place very rapidly. But during that time, the Pharisees trying to catch him out. What happens during that time? When an innumerable multitude of people had gathered together. So at that time, and it's interesting the words that Luke uses. He's using quite a lot of typical Middle Eastern hyperbole. It says, ton myriadon tu ochlu. The myriad, ton myriadon, a myriad of crowds. Now, myriad is 10,000 people, okay? And sparing Jones blushes, but when somebody in Lebanon or Syria or any part of that part of the world congratulates somebody, they don't say congratulations, they say 1,000 congratulations. They have lots and lots of them. And that sort of hyperbole is being used here as well. Now, those are walloping great crowds of people are following the Lord around. Now, the crowds, you remember, these are the ordinary everyday folk. So the Pharisees are much against the Lord, but the crowds are trampling upon each other. It continues to say, oste, so as to, katapatin, which means to step upon. If you have a peripatetic teacher, peri means going around, and patio means to walk. I walk. Peripatetic, I'm walking around. Teacher, somebody goes from school to school. Katapatin means step upon. Katapon, patin, to step on. So they're trampling on each other. Okay? Allelus, each other. We have something called allelopathy, don't we, in biology, which means one plant is killing another one. So they kill each other. Oste katapatin allelus, so as to trample and step upon each other. So the crowds were not only gathering, but they were huddling up to Christ to the point where people were actually in danger. They were stepping on each other, trampling upon each other, so that they could hear him. No microphones, no megaphones, no big stages back in those days. In order to hear somebody, you had to get up close. So they were crowding towards God. Whereas the people who were experts in all of this, the Pharisees, the scribes, the lawyers, what are they trying to do? They're trying to kill him. So you have these deliberately, Luke uses these two things next to each other. The experts, they want Alf Mabruk. The experts want to kill the Lord, catch him out, but the ordinary everyday crowds of people are stepping upon each other in order to get near to him. Does this mean that the Lord trusts them? No, it doesn't. If you look at the same chapter, verse 54 to 56, well, let's look at that straight away, see if you get to see it. 54 to 56, then he also said to the multitudes, whenever you see a crowd rising out of the west, immediately you say, a shower is coming, so it is. When you see a south wind blow, you say, there will be hot weather, and there is. Hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and the earth, but how is it you do not discern this time? Okay, so two more of his aphorisms. But the Lord is being crowded out by the ordinary people, but he doesn't trust them. The Pharisees are very obviously trying to kill him. They don't tell him that, but that's what they're trying to do. Okay. He began to say to his disciples first. So he teaches his disciples over and above the crowds. They're coming, but he's teaching his immediate proper disciples first of all, okay, privately. And what does he say? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Right. Leaven is yeast. As Joan knows all too well, if you want bread to rise, you mix in yeast. You in those days you would leave out flour and water and stuff, maybe some honey in it, and the yeast would, natural yeast or yeast from basil leaves, would begin to ferment the bread, ferment the dough, and make it all rise up. Now, at Passover, the Jewish people still do take great care to make sure that there's no yeast within the house. Okay, it's not there. And they sweep the whole place out. They even have a game with the children where they give the children goose feathers or feathers of some big bird, and they go throughout the whole house, sweeping any crumbs of bread away. And to make this easier, they put bits of bread around in the kitchen, and the children then go and sweep this up. And this is getting rid of the impure leaven out of their house, so they can then celebrate Passover without any leaven within the house, and thus remember that the Lord helped them to escape from Egypt. Okay? So that's some of the background, this idea here. So there's a feeling of not being ready, not being prepared for salvation in these words. Okay? The Jewish people now, they sweep out the house, they make sure there's no yeast in the house, and they eat matzah, unleavened bread. And by doing so, they show they're ready for salvation. But the Pharisees are themselves full of yeast, and that yeast shows they're not ready for salvation. Okay? That's some of the background there. And of course, yeast is then hidden. The Lord, when changing the metaphor slightly, the Lord used yeast in other ways. You know, a bit of yeast, he says, put into dough will leaven the entire lump. I've had that idea there as well. It's a bit like we might say in this country, one bad apple, and the fullness of the saying will be, one bad apple will rot the whole tub. So you used to put apples into a barrel, and then put a layer of sawdust, then another layer of apples, and another layer of sawdust. Hello, Thekla. Nice to see you there. Not seen you for ages. I was going to send you an email asking how you were. Because I was reminded when Tony is staying with me at the moment, when I made up his bed, I have one of your pictures on the back of the door in the bedroom that he's using in Lincoln. So it reminded me to find out how things were with you, because I hadn't seen you for ages. I guess it's a change in the time. Anyway, and then the Lord is using this in a similar sort of way and saying the leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. Now, if you mix hypocrisy into a church gathering, and Luke is keeping an eye on his own congregations here, if you mix hypocrisy within a congregation, it spreads like wildfire. So, you tell everybody to fast, but do you fast? No, you don't. You tell everybody to pray, but do you pray? No, you don't. You tell everybody not to pray in public, but you pray in public, so that everybody can see that you're praying. You change the things so everybody can see that you are a really holy, wonderful person, but actually what it is just sheer hypocrisy. And I have to say, the biggest hypocrites you can find anywhere are always the parish priest. It's hard, actually, to live up to the preaching that one preaches. It's hard. And even St. John Chrysostom knew that, and St. Basil the Great, because the prayers for the priest as he approaches the holy table, the altar area, make it clear that these men, in their greatness, appeared before God feeling that they were hypocrites. And I think every priest feels the same. Probably everybody does. You come for communion thinking, I really shouldn't be receiving. Anyway, there we go. So the leaven, the hypocrisy of the Pharisees, is something that's very easily rubbed off onto other people as well. They learn the same hypocrisy, and they learn a way learn a way around God, so they think. But God can never be fooled. Well, like going back to what I was saying the other day about the walled city, where the wall is simply a wire 12 feet above the ground, and that makes somewhere into a walled city. And therefore, you don't need to keep the rules of Sabbath within that walled city. You think God is fooled? God is not fooled. You might think you can break the law by doing this, but the law stands, and all you do is stand before God guilty. Same as when you eat all sorts of things that have no difference to the real thing. Ersatz meal of beef, I don't know, beef burgers or something, made out of beans, or what are those things called? Mushrooms, and tastes exactly like beef, is a way around, a way of trying to fool God into thinking that you are fasting, and in fact you're not. And the Lord makes this clear. He carries on by saying, so here we have verse 2, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, nor hidden that will not be made known. The import of that is exactly as it says. You don't need to explain this. It's quite interesting, though, that some of the church fathers, and St. John Chrysostom does this, he says, it worked two ways. The hypocrisy of the Pharisees and the goodness of the disciples and the apostles, both of those, the Pharisees were trying to cover up their iniquity, and the apostles were trying to cover up their goodness. But the iniquity of the Pharisees is known, and the goodness of the apostles is also now known throughout the world. Everybody knows about it. St. John Chrysostom went on, he said, whatever things, he says, as if the Lord is saying, whatever things I have spoken in a small corner of Palestine will be known throughout the world. The dirty secrets of the Pharisees will be known openly, and the goodness of the disciples will also be known openly. Okay? Works both ways. Therefore, whatever you have spoken in the dark, remember he's talking to the disciples here, whatever you have spoken in the dark will be heard in the light. Whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, you say it quietly, you do something in a hidden way, one day it will be revealed. Whatever you have spoken in the ear, this is what's it called? A sort of saying, local saying. It means whispered. Whatever you whispered in somebody's ear, in the inner rooms. Now, the inner rooms, if you imagine a courtyard, small courtyard, probably, I don't know, 10 feet by 12 feet, that sort of size. The inner rooms faced onto that little courtyard, and the outer rooms faced out onto the street. So they didn't have glass or anything back then. So your neighbors could come along and lean through the window and see what was going on. But in the inner rooms, nobody could either hear or see what was going on, because that faced onto the private courtyard. So whatever you've whispered in the inner rooms will be proclaimed on the housetops. Makes sense, doesn't it? You go up on the housetop, you shout your head off, and everybody in the streets and courtyards around about is going to hear what's going on. So again, we go back to the Pharisees. The Pharisees, what are they doing? They began to assail him, to cross-examine him about many things, lying in wait for him. They might catch him in something he might say, that they might accuse him. They're doing this secretly by pretending to ask questions about the law, about the prophets, and so on. But their trickery is going to be exposed. And the goodness of the disciples and the apostles is also going to be exposed. And the same we can say about ourselves. My hypocrisy will be exposed one day when I, above all others, will be able to see what a hypocrite I really am. And your goodness will also be exposed one day, and everybody will be able to see the good things that you have done. Therefore, pray for me. When I read this, actually, I'm taken back to my childhood. I lived in a house like this, where you had outer rooms that faced onto the street. You had an inner courtyard. One of the courtyards was really interesting. It was really quite small, with 2 staircases leading out of it, and various storerooms and other things below, and a kitchen. And then up some stairs you went, and that's where the cook and the man who cleaned the house and the gardener all lived. And then this courtyard led into another courtyard, which then led outside, and everything was then stored in these storerooms below. And that was, I guess, it was about 15 feet by 15 feet. So what's that? 5 meters by 5 meters. Maybe a bit smaller, maybe 5 meters by 4 meters. And during the winter time, we had a charcoal brazier out there. And if anybody came and they were unloading stuff, then the various servants and others and people coming to and fro to the house would go and warm themselves by this charcoal brazier, exactly like St. Peter warming himself in the courtyard when the Lord is being betrayed, being judged. Now we tend to think of this great big palatial courtyard, huge great thing, and Peter somewhere or other warming himself by a brazier, but actually it'd be extremely intimate. So if there are people standing around, the courtyard would be pretty full, and the brazier's there in the middle, and you're bumping up against everybody. How on earth did I get onto that? It's got nothing whatever to do with this. Whereas about the in and outer room. Yeah. So whatever you say in private is going to be public. Whatever you do in private is going to be public. So I guess we should watch what we do and say and how we behave. And the most private of inner rooms, of course, is your own heart. Therefore, make sure your heart is clean, like we had a couple of 3 weeks ago, and even just 2 or 3 days ago. Remember, foolish ones, verse 40. Do not you make the outside, make the inside also. You clean the outside of the cup, for your inward parts are full of greed and wickedness. Verse 39 and 40 of chapter 11. Okay, I think we've probably done enough for today. Roughly just under half an hour, 26 minutes, I think. Let's see if anybody else has turned up. We've got Thekla, who is going to sleep early. Good. Vicky, good morning. God bless you. Alf Mabruk, that means 1,000 congratulations. Anybody who doesn't speak Arabic, which I guess is most of us, except for Ahmed and Joan. Thekla sent us a whole series of bugs. Is where you are living catching on fire yet? We had some people from California here in our church yesterday who watched this, and normally, which is lovely to see them. I took their wedding years ago. They go to church in California, and they're saying that already California is bursting in flames. Anyway, and a whole series of loaves, 5 loaves. Where are the fish? Or as the Greeks say, fis. They can't pronounce sh. Where are the fis? You can tell the difference between somebody who's mainland Greek and somebody from Cyprus, because they say, in Cyprus they can say fish and shop, and in Greeks they can't. They say sop or fis. It's a shibboleth. It's a good biblical word. Okay. Yeah, lovely to know. I hope you're well. Plenty of fish. There should only have been two, but never mind. We're going to have fish, wine, and oil today. I'm off the oil. I don't drink at all, and we don't have fish planned to eat today either. So there we go. I'm glad to hear okay. Okie dokie. Keep each other in your prayers, please. We're continuing to pray for Joseph and Simon. You know Simon and Judy, who usually joins us. Elizabeth and Jackie, Marina and Kevin, and Theodore, particularly today. And if you could pray also for Pat, who was the wife, now the widow of Philip. I guess that today, this week, will be the week that she will begin to realize that her husband is gone. What? What does zam mean? Was zam? Is that some sort of extremely alcoholic thing you get in Slovakia? Something like that, I guess, Anton? Right. Righty-tighty. Okay, so pray for each other. God bless you. I've got Tony here. He's busy on a spider hunt. This church gets absolutely filled with spiders if we don't deal with them every other week or so. So that's what Tony's doing at the moment. Good night, Thekla. God bless. Jam. Jam. Yes, jam. Certainly pray for Alison. I'll put her back on my list and her family. Memory eternal until then. God bless you. Hot in California. Hot where Thekla is. Watch out. No sparks then, Thekla. Okay. Right, your prayers. God bless you all. God willing, tomorrow. If we are